Welcome to yet another SCP Resurrection reading. Today we're going to be reading Part 112, Additional Resources by Lurk D and DJ Cactus, and Part 113, Job Opportunities by Chilled Tonic. I hope you enjoy, and let's get right to it. Additional Resources. Dietrich stepped out of the bathroom stall and headed for the sink. His hard-soled shoes echoed off the walls with each step, and the cool, rushing faucet water broke the silence in the empty men's restroom. A quick splash of water to the face to calm his nerves a bit, and a long exhale later, he looked through the mirror in front of him and over his own shoulder. Yeah, I know. I saw the email too. It's scheduled in 3 weeks. What you reckon I do about it? He paused to wait for the answer, but shook his head dismissively. Merle, seriously? Ain't having this today, understand? Don't make me regret teaching ya sign language. Can you just be quiet for the next half hour? He splashed more water in his face and dried off, careful not to drip any onto his black tie or white Oxford shirt. His frizzy hair was standing almost straight up, but that's how it normally was, and most agents could care less how their hair looks while on duty. Dietrich would much rather be fishing for bluegill in the cool Ozark lakes than continue looking at Merle's blank expression in the mirror. I cannot be talking to you like this right now. Why? Because folks are getting wise to this act like they always do. And if we're still here for the next annual exam, shit's really gonna hit the fan for the both of us. He paused for a moment to look at the response. Fine. Just help me keep it together for another week, then I'll put in for a transfer out of here before the appointment. But you gotta be giving me some space, Merle. Good? Good. He adjusted his shoulder holster one last time before exiting the restroom and into the hallway, trying not to directly look at Merle in his periphery, which was something he had gotten quite adept at. Karlyle adjusted his jacket and walked into the server room. The technology center at Site 19 was impressive, no doubt, and to Karlyle it might as well have been magic. He toyed with the idea of childishly pulling a plug, just to see what kind of chaos might wreck, but decided it would be better left to somebody a bit younger and a bit less responsible. Dr. Hamilton was waiting for him near the north wall, idly tinkering with a loose socket. He noticed Karlyle approaching and stood up to shake his hand. Director, Hamilton said, welcome to the server racks. This is, well, it's not the central mainframe, but it is for our department. Karlyle shook his hand. A pleasure, Doctor. As always. The innovations at Site 19 is capable of producing are a wonder to me. Hamilton chuckled politely. I assume that you received my inter-office communication, then? Karlyle continued. Hamilton nodded. I got your email, sure. What did you want to talk about? Your AI division. I saw some of your preliminary results, and I was thoroughly impressed. My technicians at Site 81 are interested in setting up a similar model, and have a very rough prototype in the making, but, He paused, furrowing his brow. Some of the more nuanced specifications are foreign to them, I'm afraid. That's just fine. I know exactly who you need to be talking to. He hesitated. That said, I'm not exactly sure why you're here. You're a busy guy. Couldn't you have sent somebody? Karlyle smiled. I enjoy seeing new things, Doctor. Besides, I'm in town for other business. The moment Karlyle ended his sentence, Dietrich entered the room. He immediately adjusted his slouching posture and tried to suppress any amount of apparent surprise. The server room was about as exciting as the janitor's closet, and about as frequently visited by the higher-ups. Nevertheless, it was just another Wednesday to them. Howdy. Dietrich expressed his normal casual greeting to the both. Don't reckon you had to have login issues, do ya? Merle visibly face-palmed in an adjacent reflection, an expression entirely ignored by Dietrich. Hardly. Hamilton gave a quirky smile. Actually, we were just discussing you, Agent Lurk. Lurk? Karlyle raised his brow a bit. That is not a call sign, is it? No, it's Scottish. Bad side. Used to be Merle, but you know how Americans get trouble pronouncing things and such. Pretty much everyone reacts the same way when they hear it the first time. Hamilton nodded awkwardly. Right. Anyway, the director is looking for someone to help develop an AIC for Site 81. Dietrich looked at Hamilton, then Karlyle, and finally a quick glance at Merle, who was pointing his attention back at the doctors. Dietrich tilted his head in response. Look, I may quack like a researcher, but I sure as hell ain't one, sir. I just help the real nerds turn their pet projects into practical tools. Tighten up the gaps between theory and practical stuff, you know? Karlyle smiled. As it turns out, that is exactly what I'm here to discuss. Dr. Hamilton, if I may. Hamilton waved his hand dismissively. Go right ahead, Director. I've got a feeling I don't want to be any more involved in this. Karlyle gestured to a side room and followed Lurk into it. He closed the door behind them, and they sat down at the conference table. Mr. Lurk. Better call me Dietrich if you want to use names. Karlyle nodded. All right, Dietrich. I want to talk about your AICs and how they might respond to an invasive, wholly technological threat. He kicked back in his chair. Let us say that some aggressive, technological SCP entity breaches containment somewhere and gets into the mainframe for a site. They are threatening to lock the site down, activate the on-site device, and as such. How would one of your AICs handle such a situation? Well, Dreich tipped back in his chair to construct his words, ruminating on the problem for some time. First off, this ain't my division. I've just been helping them get off the floor and into the field, so to speak. And second, I reckon it depends. AICs are like real folks. They think, feel, make mistakes. They just do it much faster than we can. But that's just it, ain't it? He continued, leaning forward. They think fast and are even faster on the trigger, and sometimes both at the same time. If the band's on fire, you don't wait for it to rain, right? Karlyle nodded. In your experience, then, do you feel like the models we have available now are suitable for handling a site's day-to-day activities? I reckon so. That's what they's built for anyway. What about combat? Dreich hesitated. What about combat? Imagine, if you will, that an anomalous threat becomes apparent somewhere in the world. How far do we have until the AICs are capable of addressing the threat directly and attacking it and containing it without outside direction? AICs gotta be trained like anyone else. Acting on their own takes experience, and experience can't be programmed. I mean, sure, your typical virus is not even on the radar, but anomalous threats are. Dietrich's eyes darted past Karlyle for a moment to view Merle signing a message to him in the reflection of the wall-mounted touchscreen. Before he could pick up on what Merle was trying to convey, he realized he was pausing for too long. Unpredictable, he concluded. It'll take some time for being let off the leash like you want. Karlyle took a quick glance behind him, looked straight at Merle. Seeing nothing, he turned back to Dreich and nodded in acknowledgement. I see. Sir? Dreich asked. Is there something that the ASCs need to contain currently? Karlyle squinted. He wasn't sure how to handle this strange man. He was knowledgeable, certainly, but something seemed off. Not necessarily, he said, leaning forward. Currently, I'm just exploring possibilities for my own site and for our other projects. Other projects? Mr. Lurk? Dietrich? Yes, apologies, Dietrich. How suitable would you say you are to maintain these systems in the field? How adequate is your expertise in this area? He looked over Dietrich's shoulder into the server room beyond them. Additionally, what other projects are you currently assigned to? Currently? Just this. I've been bouncing from divisions and labs ever since I got transferred out of Neo 13. But in the field, we got some stuff on the back burner having to do with mobile apps and AICs. That'd be a good start for what you're looking for. Dietrich placed his standard issue mobile device on the conference table. I know these AICs well, sir. I can't build one from scratch, but I can tune and tweak them. That is to say, I know enough. Ain't that right, Alex? The phone beeped and responded in a perky female voice. That's right, sir. Karlyle looked at the phone with an air of curiosity. This is the 4th generation system, yes? The Alexandra system? Dietrich nodded. Yes, sir. Posted right here on 19. The latest and greatest artificially intelligent conscript they've made to date. The old doctor lifted the phone. An avatar of a blue-haired young woman sat centered on the screen and smiled when it turned to face Karlyle. Good afternoon, Dr. Actus. The vocal synthesis, Karlyle considered, was very good. It is a pleasure to finally meet you. Karlyle addressed Dietrich. Can this hear me? Sure can, Alexander replied, blinking a notification light. I'm integrated into all the hardware designed for those devices and have access to whatever utility I want to use, whenever I need to use it. Cameras, microphones, lasers. She laughed. Ha! Okay, maybe not lasers, but I'm sure they're working on that one too. Fascinating, Karlyle said, mulling over the object in his hands. This is far superior to the Access system running at Site 81. Access? Woof. The avatar stuck out her tongue. I've seen the source. That's pretty outdated stuff. Karlyle raised an eyebrow in agreement. Dietrich, if you're willing, I might have a position for you in the near future. That is, if you're interested in continuing to work with those AICs. I'm a round peg, sir. Jack of all trades, master of none. Dietrich drummed his fingers on the table. Kinda prefer it being that way, to be honest. Don't like getting pigeonholed. Kinda why I left Meal 13. He then stopped drumming. That said, Site 81. That's a change of scenery, I suppose. Why not? Merle nodded in agreement at the change. It was a blessing in disguise for the two of them, considering Dietrich was 2 steps and an annual psychiatric examination away from being labeled as a schizophrenic. What's your time frame, sir? Dietrich asked. Karlyle pulled a white envelope from within his jacket. It would not necessarily be for Site 81, I'm afraid, he said, slipping the envelope across the table to Dietrich. And the time frame would be immediately. Job opportunities. On Monday morning, Alexander awoke in his London apartment to the smell of burnt toast. Assuming he was having a heart attack, the irony of this assumption only occurred to him later that day, He rushed downstairs in an attempt to reach the telephone, only to find his 6-year-old daughter desperately struggling to make him breakfast. He laughed, picked her up, spun her around, and kissed her on the forehead before sitting down with her and eating a meal of burnt toast and scrambled eggs. Alexander drew a face on his eggs with ketchup, and his daughter giggled. He hugged his daughter once more before she left for school, then went back into his bedroom, disengaged the lock on the primary armory hidden behind his dresser, and started to get ready for work. He got dressed in his nicest black silk dress pants and beautifully made dark purple dress shirt before clipping his 2 standard-issue Mark X handguns beneath his arms. In all of their smoky black glory, and threw on a black suit coat over the top. Then, after relocking his armory, Alexander went downstairs, did the dishes, threw on his thick wool dress coat, and set out in the pouring London rain on his way to work. He stopped at the small coffee stand in the square across from his apartment complex, ordering his usual sea black coffee, which he stood and sipped slowly, until he realized he was 6 minutes late for work. Alexander ran in the pouring rain down London's twisting and turning roads before he finally came into a stop at head offices. A small, inconspicuous building tucked between a laundromat and a grocer. Swiping his glass security pass at the door, he rushed past the oaken panels and leather chairs, waved to the secretary, then swiped his security pass again and stepped onto the elevator, pushing the button for basement level 26. The elevator opened. He stepped out, brushed past a second secretary, and ducked into his office. With luck, nobody would notice he was late. He booted up his company terminal. Marshall, Cutter, and Dark Employee Terminal. User ID 45678322790. Password Lucille 2009. Accepted. Welcome back, Alexander. Alexander managed to take another 3 sips of his now cold coffee before the computer finished booting, and saw the blinking email notification in the corner. Not the usual crimson-red notification, which meant a new contract was available, but instead a deep, sickly green. Upper management. He cursed and opened it. Aleksander Foxx. You have been requested in a meeting with upper management at 11 a.m. in boardroom 6. This meeting is mandatory. Do not be tardy. Thank you, upper management. Apparently, someone very important noticed he was late. Alexander had apparently been the only one to take the words "don't be tardy" seriously, as it was now rolling past 11:17 a.m., and he was still the only one in the boardroom. As he wondered if he was in the wrong boardroom, the door swung open and an elderly man waltzed in. Apologies for my tardiness. I have been having a very busy day myself. And you, Alexander? The man smiled a wicked grin. How busy has your day been? Alexander swallowed. Very busy, sir. The man sat down across from Alexander. Good to hear. Has the work been interesting? Always, sir. The work is always interesting. Good. The man pulled a file folder out from his briefcase and set it before him. How old are you, Alexander? 36, sir. Single father? He began flipping through what appeared to be a well-thumbed copy of Alexander's personal file. Alexander felt his legs go numb. Yes, sir. The man looked up from the file folder and pursed his lips. You don't have any idea who I am, do you? Alexander shook his head. You do, actually. My name is Skitter. Skitter Marshall. Alexander felt his face go pale. It was bad enough to have to speak alone with upper management, but a named board member? The Mr. Marshall? What would a board member want with a huntsman like him? Marshall looked at Alexander with cold, all-knowing eyes. Relax, my boy. You aren't in trouble. In fact, he pursed his lips once again.
You've been working for us for quite some time, haven't you?
Yes, sir. 3 years as a security officer, 6 as a huntsman.
You've made quite a name for yourself. What do they call you in the field? Mossman?
Mossart, sir.
Fitting, I suppose. Bit too literal for my tastes.
He slid the file away from himself.
What's your rank?
Lieutenant, sir.
Well, congratulations. You're now officially a brigadier. Welcome to the big leagues.
Alexander felt like he had just been hit by lightning. Thank you, sir.
You're the best for the job. Now, I have a very important job for you. In fact, they asked for you personally. As I said, you've made quite the name for yourself.
Alexander was getting feeling back in his legs. His usual firm, confident self was returning. Excellent, sir. May I ask who the assassination target is? Marshall laughed a false laugh.
I said, welcome to the big leagues, boy. And in the big leagues, nothing is ever. I'm afraid you are stepping back from the wet working department for a while. I'm putting you in charge of a storage warehouse in the East Central London. You can choose 6 level 1 security officers to accompany you in your defense.
Alexander nodded. Yes, sir. What exactly are we storing there, if I may ask? Marshall smirked.
You haven't allowed me to finish. You will be defending a warehouse that contains 16 crates of anomalous artifacts and 3 anomalous humanoids in the usual comatose storage.
Alexander nodded once again. The smirk grew larger.
Wednesday afternoon, at around 3:30, the SCP Foundation will break into the facility, kill all your security, and kidnap you.
On a freight train that was hurtling down the tracks at a clipping pace, in a boxcar filled with unmarked crates, 2 men, armed with automatic weapons, sat around a makeshift table playing cards. What about Ben Affleck? He's kind of funny. Some of his older stuff, yeah, but his new films grit on me. Do you have any 7s? Go fish. Got any kings? Go fish. Do you have any 8s? Go fish. Do you have any 6s? Damn, take 'em. Hey, has Nick Cage done any recent stuff? I liked him in National Treasure. Nothing good. He kinda just went downhill after that series. Do you have any... Are those gunshots? Sounds like they're coming from the other train car. Get ready. Sounds like this train ride just went to hell. It was early Thursday morning when 05-4 received 2 consecutive reports in his inbox that, to anyone else, seemed completely disconnected. To him, however, they told him he had performed a very, very successful trade. Incident report. Marshall Carter and Dark Warehouse raid. At 3:45 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, on the date of redacted, Mobile Task Force Pi 1 City Slickers successfully raided a Marshall Carter and Dark Warehouse in London, England. The opponent suffered 6 casualties, and 1 Huntsman Class MC and D operative surrendered. He is being held in cell block 3 at Site 19. A list of artifacts retrieved has been attached. The first 4 of which are redacted, all designated as SCPs, and the 5th of which is 1 crate of weaponry, including a World War I era Ross rifle with scope, 1 Japanese-style Tanto blade, 1 Russian Cold War era officer's blade, and 2 Mark 10 handguns. Secondly, incident report, unknown attackers. Raid freight train. At 5 o'clock p.m., in Paris, France, a freight train containing 12 SCP objects of varying classifications, including 8 safe and 3 Euclid SCPs, was attacked by an unknown assailant. None of the security detail defending these objects have reportedly survived. A list of objects lost has been attached. All 6 of which are SCPs, redacted. 05-4 couldn't help but smile. After all, in this trade, the Foundation definitely got the better side of the bargain. Item number SCP 4758, Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP 4758 is to be held in a standard humanoid containment cell, measuring 3 meters by 2.5 meters. 2 guards must be posted at all times around SCP 4758's cell, and the room must not be furnished with anything more than standard foam mattress, without sheets, pillow, or bed frame, and a standard toilet. When being served meals, it is vitally important that SCP 4758 is fed only soft foods and not given any utensils. As well, his cell must be searched twice daily for improvised tools or weapons. Description: SCP 4758, formerly known as Aleksander Foxx, is a male of European descent. Records indicate that SCP 4758 was born in Ontario, Canada in 1978, making it 36 years old. SCP 4758 has brown hair and eyes, weighs 81 kilograms, and stands at roughly 2 meters. Its back is heavily tattooed in various geometrical patterns and shapes. After being captured by the SCP Foundation during a raid on Marshall Cutter and Dark Warehouse, SCP 4758 was kept in a standard humanoid cell block until it was discovered, during a standard medical test, that SCP 4758 does not have any internal organs in its chest cavity and is instead entirely filled with "Stop writing." A man in a navy blue suit stormed into the office of Dr. Gunnell. "Who in the right name of hell gave you permission to move Aleksander Foxx?" Dr. Gunnell suddenly felt very confused.
It was standard procedure. We discovered he had some anomalous capabilities.
And if you read his prisoner dossier, you would have found that it said not to move him under any circumstances.
Dr. Gunnell stood up. Which we ignored since we discovered he had anomalous capabilities. Are you even listening? Who are you to storm into my office and start yelling at me?
Navy suit flashed a security pass. "I'm your goddamn fucking superior, that's who I am. Now listen to me very, very closely. You are going to burn that special containment procedure and wipe any records of his anomalous capabilities. Then, you are going to walk me over to wherever the hell it is you're keeping him, unlock the door, walk away, and forget any of what happened here today."
Under whose orders?
Mine.
Who are your superiors?
He shoved his security pass into Dr. Gunnell's face. O5 Command. Aleksander was well aware what the plan was. He knew exactly how it was supposed to go down. By now, he should have already done the staged interview. They should have fed him his lines, and he should be working for them. Being locked in solitary confinement was not part of the agreed plan. Just as he was thinking of all the brilliantly terrible ways he could execute the doctor who did this to him, he heard the door open. He sat up from his lone mattress and saw a man standing in the doorframe, clad in a blue suit. Finally. "About damn time. I've been in here 3 days. The man in blue nodded slightly. "My apologies. As much as I hate to say it, we have a very large facility, and sometimes," he kicked at the floor, "sometimes we misplace people." Aleksander stood up. "Whatever. Just cut to the script and get filming." The man nodded. "If you would just follow me." Interviewed: Aleksander Foxx. Interviewer: redacted. Forward: Aleksander Foxx is a Marshall, Carter, and Dark operative who was working for the past 6 years under the name Mosshart. Begin log. Aleksander Foxx, is it true that you work as an operative for Marshall, Carter, and Dark? Fox: Yes. I worked for 3 years as a security officer protecting their merchandise before I was offered a position in the Huntsman program. Redacted: And what exactly was the Huntsman program? Fox. Originally, Aleksander Foxx tilts back in his chair. Fox. We acted as tour guides and armed escorts for clients who wanted to go on monster hunts. Eventually, the program was phased out due to client casualty rate being so high. Redacted. So then, you returned to regular duty as a security officer? Fox. No. Once a huntsman, always a huntsman. We were called that because we were the best. We took out anomalies like you guys take out test subjects. Redacted. Could you give me an example? Fox. Example? Sure. Budapest, 2006. I killed a cancer big thing that kept growing more and more body parts on top of its already existing ones. We called him Goliath. Cut him to pieces, burned and salted the ashes. Hell, I'm still having trouble washing him out of my coat. Redacted. That's enough. If you were so combat effective, why was the program phased out? Fox. Because monsters and cocky rich kids don't mix. Redacted. Alright. So what did you do after the Huntsman program was cancelled? Fox. We were spread around various parts of the community. I personally was moved to the wet working department and spent 3 years killing rich people in exchange for the money of other rich people. Redacted. You don't speak very highly of your organization. Aleksander Foxx snorts, leans forward, slamming his chair to the ground. Fox. Why would I? Marshall Carter and Dark made a joke out of my skills. I'm a damn good assassin, but the work is boring. I want something with some actual meat to it, which is why I willingly surrendered to your organization. Redacted. Sorry? Fox. You are going to hire me. You've been planning it the moment I got captured. Go ahead. Make me an offer. Redacted. I'm not authorized to discuss any of this. Fox. Then I will wait here while you go and check on that. Redacted leaves. 15 minutes pass before Redacted returns. Redacted. We'd like to offer you triple whatever Marshall Cutter and Dark was paying you in exchange for permanent employment at our organization. Fox. Agreed. I only have 3 requests and 2 questions. Redacted. Let's hear them. Fox. Firstly, I'm not one of your blasted SCPs. I've spent enough time in cells. Redacted. Agreed. You will be free to come and go as you please, like the rest of our staff. Fox. Secondly, I need an assistant. That should go without saying. Redacted. Consider it done. Fox. Thirdly, I had a crate of weapons in the warehouse. Did you get them? They were collectibles, irreplaceable. Redacted. We did. They're being stored in our armory. Fox. Excellent. Now, first question. What's the nicest private school in the area? Redacted. I'm sorry, but why exactly do you? Fox. My daughter. She's 6 and an absolute sweetheart. Would you like to see pictures? Never mind, they're in my coat. Just forward a list of local private schools to me when you get the chance. Redacted. All right. You said you had another question? Fox. Oh, right. Tell me. I've been dying to know. Aleksander Foxx stands up. Fox. What exactly do you have planned for me? End log. It was 7:00 p.m. when Lucille's plane finally landed. Alexander had arrived an hour before just in case his daughter arrived early. When his daughter saw him, she dropped her suitcase, let go of the flight attendant's hand, much to her terror, and sprinted towards her father. Daddy! She yelled before being gripped in a massive bear hug. Hey, sweetie. Alexander cracked a huge smile. How was the flight in? Good. The night's airplane lady let me have 2 whole cookies by myself. Alexander laughed as he picked her up onto his shoulders. That sounds yummy. But you ate your supper too, right? Yep. Even the vegetables? The young girl suddenly looked very downtrodden. Not all my vegetables. I don't like the broccolis. Alexander put her down and patted her head. That's all right. Plenty of time in your life to eat your broccolis. Now, go grab your suitcase and say thanks to the flight attendant. Daddy wants to show you his big new house and tell you about his awesome new job. Thank you all very much for coming. It's been an absolute joy reading to you. Hopefully the change in my voice between the first story and the second story wasn't too much. I did some stuff in between and absolutely wrecked my vocal cords for a bit, so yeah. But wanted to record it anyway, and we had 3 hours left before I needed to release it, so figured, it'll fit. Though I'm not very proud of the little girl's voice at the last one. That was not good. But thank you very much for coming, and I hope you all have a wonderful week out there. See you all in the future.